Hey everyone, it's Alice and welcome to what is possibly the most epic episode of Hook a Duck ever. So if you're new here, you might not know this, but the way that we choose our monthly TBRs is through a game that we like to call Hook a Duck. So we hook ducks and we use cards to pick our TBR. Well, this month I made a big mistake. I put a tweet out asking if there were any readathons or read-alongs that were taking part in May that people were excited about to see whether I could get involved in any of them, and there were far too many that I was interested in. So many, in fact, that we haven't been able to take part in all of them because it would have been ridiculous. We would have been trying to read like 100 books in a month. But today we're taking part in Desert-a-thon, which has been organised by Esme at Bookish Buddies. The Royal Readathon, which has been organised by Becca at The Becca Fowl and Livy at Magic Book Blog. And DoTheThingAthon, which is being organised by Ashley at A Frolic Through Fiction. We're also taking part in Esme's An Ember in the Ash Along read-along for the next 4 months, which is a book from An Ember in the Ashes series, a month for the next few months. But we still wanted to hook some ducks. So you're about to see what is the culmination of about 6 hours of planning, because we've hooked our ducks, we've rolled our dice for Game of the Books, and I think we've figured out the best we're going to, doubling up a few prompts and having some fun. So without further ado, let's start hooking some ducks. So it's time for another round of Hook a Duck. As always, I'm going to shuffle my prompts really awkwardly for you. And then I'll pop those down over here. And now it's time to hook. We're going to try hooking 6 ducks again this month. This is probably ambitious because last month we ended up with 8. But we're aiming for 6. So first duck. I'm going to get this one that's weirdly tilted because if I don't get it first then it's going to end up falling over. We've got a yellow duck, which is a fantasy duck. And for that yellow duck, the prompt is highest rated. So our first duck that we hooked was a yellow duck, which was a fantasy duck. And the prompt for this one was to read our highest rated fantasy. As soon as I got this prompt, I thought I knew what it was going to be. So I went onto my Goodreads Want to Read list and I filtered the highest rating. And the first 5 or 6 were books that were advanced copies that aren't actually out yet and we can't access any of them. So we couldn't read any of those. And then the first book that we had that we could actually access was The Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. So I tried to do a read-along for these books, running from October through to February, ready for A Court of Silver Flames to be released. And I failed because I basically got into a reading slump with the first book. And now we're reading this one in May, which is exciting, but it's also humongous. So considering we're trying to take part in 3 different read-alongs, it's over 600 pages. We're trying to take part in 3 different read-alongs. This is long. So it's not the best place to start off this TBR, but also I've already got it separated out into handy dandy little weekly segments. So hopefully we'll be able to get it done alongside some other books and it won't take us too far off target. Ready for our next duck pick? Our second duck is this duck here, which is a purple duck. That is a friend pick duck. And for that duck, our friends must pick... Oh, it's a baby pick! That means that the babies get to choose a book for us this month.
They're our best friends.
They are our best friends. And our next duck pick was a purple duck, and this was a baby pick duck. So for this one, we decided to let Sophia pick a book out of our TBR jar. Ezra, you're not allowed to pick today, okay, my lovey? Not you today, Mr. Ezra. It's just Sophia today. Are we ready?
Yes.
Pick one? Thank you. And then can you show me what it is? What is it? That is Upside Down, but that is It's About Love by Steve Camden. Awesome. Thank you. So Sophia kindly picked It's About Love by Steve Camden. Now the 3 words that I've picked to describe this one are Star Wars, film studies and contemporary. This is a book that Sean and I are reading together And as well as having it on my NetGalley, I do actually have a physical copy of it because I've got a feeling that the NetGalley version was corrupted in some way, and I found this in a charity shop for like £1. I can check. £2. I found this for £2 and I grabbed it, and I still haven't had a chance to read it. But this sounds like it's going to be a nice, fun, quick one. A lot of it's written in like a script format. I'm not the most interested in Star Wars, but I am really interested in film studies. So not sure, this could go either way, but sounds like it should be a nice quick one. So thank you, Sophia, for helping us pick this one out of our pot. Let's look at our next duck. Duck number 3. Duck number 3 is a green duck, and that is a young adult duck. And for this young adult duck, we must read a YouTube recommended.
So that means anything that a YouTuber has said that they liked in any way. Mm-hmm. So definitely going to be
Shadow and Bone.
Shadow and Bone.
Or Six of Crows.
Mm-hmm.
So our third duck was a green duck, and this was a young adult duck, and this was a young adult YouTube recommended book. So we thought this was the perfect chance to get the book for The Ember and the Ash along on our TBR, because it's quite clearly YouTube recommended, because it's part of a read along on YouTube. It's perfect. And I haven't picked it up yet, and I now have 3 copies of it, so I think it's probably about time that I actually read this one. As far as I can remember, this is about a girl called Leia and a boy called Elias, and they're like enemies in a war. I think she's part of the army that kill his parents? I'm not really quite sure what these are about, if I'm honest, but they're gorgeous and they're really hyped, and I am excited to read them, and I finally get to. Let's pick our next duck. Duck number 4. Oh no.
Go for a different duck?
I just want this duck. Ugh. Duck number 4 is a pink duck, and that is a middle grade duck. And for that middle grade prompt, we will, if I can just pick up one card at once, be reading a book from an old TBR. And our next duck was a pink duck, which is a middle grade duck, and this was a middle grade old TBR. So we thought for this one we would start picking some books out for the DoTheThingAthon. So DoTheThingAthon is supposed to be a readathon where you just do the thing. There's no specific goals, there's no specific challenges, you just do a thing that you've been aiming to do. And one of my constant goals is to get my currently reading shelf on Goodreads back down to the books that I am only currently reading. I keep abandoning books halfway through and they just fester there, and I never sort it out, and it really annoys me. And I managed to get it from 10 books down to about 3 or 4, and now it's back up to 11 books, and that's just ridiculous. But one of those is a middle grade, which has been on my TBR since well before I started my blog. This was published in 2005, and I still haven't read it, and it's Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief by Rick Riordan. We got halfway through this one last November for Readathon, and we abandoned it when November finished, and we still haven't finished it. So, okay, we got 29 pages in, we got 2 chapters in, I thought we were about halfway, but that's embarrassing. But we're going to finish this one and get it off of our currently reading shelf and do the thing. Let's pick our next duck. Duck number 5. Oh no. Oh god, that one's floating. This is just not happening today. Duck number 5 is another purple duck, which means that's another friend pick. And for that friend pick, we've got a friend pick for a book that's over 500 pages. Thank you, Alice, for thinking that was a good idea. And our next duck was another purple duck, and this is a friend pick for over 500 pages. So we sent a picture to our group chat, and our lovely, lovely friends got to pick a book for us. So our friend Rath has been trying to get us to read Brandon Sanderson for months, so we thought we would put all of Brandon Sanderson's first books in series or standalones that we owned on there to see if Rath would pick one of them. And Kat got in first, and Kat picked King's Cage by Victoria Aveyard. This is the 3rd book in the Red Queen series. I read Red Queen last summer, Glass Sword last month, really enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to carrying on with the series. And this is 507 pages, so it's literally just over. If Raph had picked Way of Kings, which was over 1,000 pages, I would have cried, because there's no way we could have done this, including A Court of Mist and Fury for 600 pages, if we were also trying to read books falling if we were also trying to read The Way of Kings. So I'm so grateful to Kat for existing and for picking this book. This is a book in which there is a society where people have red blood or silver blood. The silver bloods are in power and the red bloods are the slaves and the lower class in society. But Mare Barrow, who is our main character, discovers that she is a red who has silver powers. So it's all about her kind of learning who she is, how to deal with this new aspect of her personality, and also start a rebellion to try and take the silvers down, which is really cool. The second book finished in a way that I really wasn't expecting, and I'm very excited to carry on with this third book, so this had to go on the TBR this month. And let's go and pick our last duck, duck number 6, which is our final duck of May. Hopefully. I'm not going to get near to any others, so I can't tell any. Duck number 6 is a blue duck, and that is an adult duck. And that adult prompt is an old TBR. Nice. And our last duck is a blue duck, which is an adult duck, and this was also an old TBR book. So for this one, again, we're going to carry on with DoTheThingAthon, and we're going to put the John Carter of Mars, The Collection by Edgar Rice Burroughs on this list. This is another one we started it, got halfway through the first book. We're only planning on trying to read the first book, depending on how it goes, because this is like 450 pages, and as you can see, it is very dense text in very big pages. We're just planning on finishing the first instalment in the series to see how it goes on, but this was recommended by Sean's dad to him, and so it's been on his TBR for a long time, and because of that, it's also on my TBR. So we might as well get this one finished off, and it is definitely adult because it's quite classic sci-fi. And those are all of our ducks for this month. So things are already looking pretty out of control, right? We've got a 500-page book, we've got a 600-page book, we've got a couple of series starters, we've got some classics. And now we're about to start rolling for Game of the Books, for Desert-a-thon, and I regret. So this is going to be a TBR for Desert-a-thon by Bookish Buddies. I'll link Esme's channel down below so that you can see her announcement video for it. She normally does a TBR game called Game of the Books, and this is using that for the Readathon. So Sean is going to kindly edit it in. So we've got the board on one side, and I'm going to roll the dice for you here, and then we'll let you know what prompts we land on. We've decided to roll a d20 in the hope that we will get slightly less prompts, but we've got to get all the way up to 62.
We decided the D100 would be a bit unfair.
D100 would be a bit fair because we could completely bypass it. So, roll number 1. 2, which is a warm word. So our first roll got us to the second spot on the board, and the prompt for this one was a warm book. So like a warm word in the title, and we've decided to do the thing and clear off our currently reading some more and continue with The Burning Kingdoms by Sally Green. We started this one at the end of March, couldn't get through it. It's the last book in the Smoke Thieves series, and so far I'm enjoying it more than I think I enjoyed the second book. And I just need to get through and finish it off, really. So that's going to be our first book for Desert-a-thon. Also, I'm pretty sure there are bits of this that are like deserty. There are plains, definitely plains. There's lots of walking. So I'm counting it as like desert vibes. Roll number 2. 13, which puts us on space 15, which is a strong female protagonist. Our next roll got us to the 15th spot, which was a strong female protagonist. So for this prompt, I've decided to double up King's Cage because Mare Barrow is a strong female protagonist. She is becoming one of those characters who is putting the cause above everything else. She is sabotaging her relationship. She's sabotaging her own happiness. And I think that that's kind of the definition of strength, being able to put your cause and your people and the welfare of society above yourself. So that's definitely somebody who I would call a strong protagonist, and she is female. So this fulfills that prompt. Roll number 3 is 17, which added on to 15 would be 32, which is a roll again. Our next roll got us to spot 32, which had the prompt of roll again, which was nice and handy dandy. So this is still technically roll number 3, and we've got 15. Oh, this is going well.
47.
That's 47, which is a book over 400 pages. So when we did roll again, we got to spot 47, which was a book over 400 pages. And for this one, we've gone with Strange the Dreamer by Laini Taylor. This is going to be a reread for me, but it's going to be Sean's first time reading it. And I definitely remember there's a bit where they're walking through a desert. And so desert vibes. I can't really remember anything about this book. There's a guy called Laszlo Strange. He can remember a city that everybody else has forgotten. Or everybody's forgotten what it's called. They all know that it exists, but they can't remember what it was called. They just know it as Weep. And he's obsessed with the story of this city that everyone forgot. And he eventually travels there. And there's other stuff that goes on, and I remember it being really sad. But I'm looking forward to rereading it and finally carrying on with the sequel. So roll number 4 is 8, which puts us on 55, which is a plot with romance. Our next roll got us to spot 55, which was a plot with romance. And so for this one, we've decided to double up A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J Maas, because what is more romantic than Faze and Faze? I don't know. She must surrender her heart to heal a world torn in two. That sounds like there's going to be some romance in there. I can see the word lover in the description. So even though I don't know anything that happens in this book, there's definitely some romance. And over to our next roll. Roll number 5 is a 6, which puts us on
61.
61, which is a new world.
We were so close to finishing.
And our next roll got us to spot 61, which is the prompt for new world. Now, I'll be honest, this one completely stumped me. I couldn't really think of anything to double it up with. I was kind of hoping that Raph was going to pick a Brandon Sanderson book so that we could double up on that. But instead, we've decided to double up An Ember in the Ashes because I'm pretty sure this isn't set in our world. I'm pretty sure it's fantasy. It's set in the Marshall Empire, which I'm guessing there's a map. There is a map. Blackcliff Academy and the Empire. We have maps in here, so it's definitely not our world, so this counts as a new world because it's going to be our first time reading this series. So there we go. That is our Desert-a-thon TBR. So we've managed to add 2 books, but we've also managed to double up 3 books. So things are still looking quite smooth and quite clean right now. This is good. And now let's do our Royal Readathon TBR, because of course things aren't chaotic enough. Let's add some more books in here. So for the Royal Readathon, which as I said earlier has been created by Livy and Becca, the first prompt is Sleeping Beauty, which is a book that has been on your bookshelf for a lifetime. So for this one I'm picking An Ember in the Ashes by Sabata here, because even though these might not be the oldest books, I did pre-order this one, so I have had this book. I mean, I've got like the original first edition hardback up there. This is the recent release, but I've got the original first edition. I pre-ordered it months and months before it came out, so I've had this book on my TBR since it was born, and I still haven't read it. So this one can definitely double up. The next prompt is Mulan, which is a book with a strong female lead. Now, am I going to double up King's Cage again because it has a strong female protagonist? No, because I feel like that would be cheating. If you are new here, you might not know this, but I read most of my books with Sean. I read them out loud to him, and so we read them together. But I also read books by myself. And so far, the only book out of all of these that I'm reading by myself is King's Cage. So I don't want to double it up again. I want to pick another book for me, and that is going to be Sword in the Stars by Amy Rose Capetta and Corey McCarthy. I read Once and Future in April. I'm still kind of on the fence with it. I enjoyed it more than I thought I was going to, but it was one of those books that I'm not completely sure how I felt about it. I'll be talking about it more in my wrap-up when I've got my thoughts together a bit more, but I do know that I want to finish the duology, and I do have the second book through my NetGalley. So I'm going to pick it up and I'm going to read it, because Ari is the reincarnation of King Arthur. She's the 42nd King Arthur, so if that doesn't make her a strong female lead, I don't know what does. And I'm looking forward to carrying on with her story, so this is the perfect opportunity to do that. The next prompt is Prince Florian, which is to read a book with a prince, and for this one we're doubling up The Burning Kingdoms by Sally Green, because this has lots of royalty. There's a few different princes in here. I can't remember the names of any of them off the top of my head. I'm pretty sure one of them is called Edion, and if he is officially a prince, I love him, but I can't remember if he actually is a prince or not. I don't know, I'm getting princey vibes from him. It's been a long time since we read The Demon World, and my brain is not the most great at remembering the character details. But multiple princes, lots of royalty, lots of like fighting between different countries and royals and things, so this definitely fulfills that prompt. And the last prompt for the Royal Readathon is Ursula, which is to read a book with a witch. And for this one, if we can get hold of a copy, because we totally don't have a book box sat on our stairs waiting to be unboxed, wink wink nudge nudge, we're gonna try, shifty eyes, to read Witches Steeped in Gold by Shannon Smart, if we can get hold of a copy. But who knows? This was one of my most anticipated releases for 2021. I'm aiming to read all 10 of my most anticipated releases before the end of the year, so the fact that we're reaching the midpoint of the year now, and I've done 3 or 4 so far, doing pretty well. But this one's just been released. It is 2 rival witches who have to team up together to defeat one of their mums, I believe, and it's Caribbean inspired, I think. Don't quote me on it. But it has an absolutely gorgeous cover, and there's lots and lots of hype around this one, and it's a debut, and it just sounds brilliant. And if there's not witches in it, when there's witches in the title, someone's been lying to me. So I definitely think that's going to fulfill this prompt. And there we go. That is some readathons that we're taking part in. Is that the end of this TBR video? No. Because as I said, I technically only have 2 books to read by myself on this TBR. So I'm going to push myself a bit further. I also forgot to mention at the beginning of the video, we're not taking a punishment pick this month. I don't know whether we actually completely finished our page count for April, but we've managed to read the entire YA Book Prize, and we've vlogged the whole thing, and we've done loads of like extra bonus content for that with like photography and graphic design and stuff. So we've worked our butts off, and we don't deserve a punishment, even if we haven't hit our page count. I will work it out by the time we do our wrap up, and then if we haven't done our page count, I guess maybe I'll do like an extra punishment in June. But I'm knackered, and I've already got so many books on this TBR that I didn't want to do another punishment. It's not happening. But there are some other books. I've got another 5 to mention for you that are going to be ones that I'm trying to read. So let's get on to those. So also in the name of DoTheThingAthon, I have Fateful by Claudia Gray. This was a punishment pick. It is a historical retelling of the Titanic sinking that has werewolves in it. I got a chapter into this one and I really wasn't enjoying it. I'm going to try and get at least 100 pages in. I'm probably going to end up DNFing it, but then either way, I'll be able to take it off of my currently reading shelf and do the Thingathon. So that will be hopefully a nice, quick and easy one. I've also got Rose Interrupted by Patrice Lawrence. So this is Patrice Lawrence's 3rd novel. It's the only one of hers that I haven't finished so far. I've read her others, and I read one of them for the YA Book Prize video. I read nearly half of this in one sitting and then just put it down. And I don't know why I just put it down, but it's a library book and it needs to go back to the library soon, so I need to get on with this one. This follows a girl called Rose. Her brother and her have escaped a cult or some kind of intense religious group, and she's trying to adjust to life outside of this cult, and she's feeling a bit overwhelmed by like advertisements and just society as a whole, really. And I have a feeling that bad things are going to happen, and I don't want bad things to happen, and I think that's why I put the book down, because I was getting a bit like, oh no, quite tense and emotional about it. But I definitely want to finish this off, so I'll do the thing. I will do the thing. And then I also have 3 review copies that I have to try and get to as well. I will be honest and say that one of these is a middle grade, so it should be super quick and easy to read. And that is Digger and Me by Ross Roberts. This was kindly sent to me by Stripes Publishing. This is a story that's told half in verse and half in prose. But it's a boy who has a dog, and his dog is his best friend. And then I think bad things might happen to the dog, and I just got excited and requested this because there was the dog on the cover, and I should have thought about the fact that dog books are often very sad. But I'm looking forward to seeing the way that it mixes the 2 different storytelling styles, and I think that this could be an interesting look at the introduction of verse to middle grade readers, so I'm hoping it won't be too sad. And I've also got 2 books that I've been kindly sent by Muswell Press. I'll be reading these. One of them is the beginning of June. Is the other one the beginning of June? Oh, hold on. Are these both the beginning of June? Oh no, one's the very, very end of May, and one of them's the beginning of June. But these are both ones that Sean isn't interested in, so I will be reading these by myself as well. These are The Water Garden by Louise Soraya Black, which is about a woman who finds a troubled teenager playing truant, and then she's... Hang on, wait. Right, so she finds a bench that's dedicated to a boy who died, and then she also bumps into this troubled teen, and then she gets attracted to him, and I think there's like a kind of inappropriate like age gap relationship. I'm not completely sure because I haven't read it yet. That was the feeling that I was getting from the kind of press release I got sent that made me request this. I'm interested in reading it, and it's a beautiful cover, and it's also really short. Like, it's only 260 pages. I thought this was a lot longer. But this one, I will definitely be picking up. It sounds like it's something that's a bit outside of my comfort zone, but that's interesting because I've read a couple of Muswell Press titles so far that haven't been my normal reads, and I've really enjoyed them. So, hoping this will go the same way. And then the other one is the first one in a series by Bernard O'Keefe, which is called The Final Round. It's the first D.I. Garibaldi novel, and this is a country music loving, self-educated cop. He's the only cop in the Met who can't drive a car, which sounds like fun. A man's body is found very dead, and he was last seen at a charity quiz. So it's set in Oxford, I think. But yeah, it just sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. She says someone gets viciously murdered after a charity quiz, and I'm like, that sounds fun. I love crime novels. I love murder mysteries. I don't read them enough. And this sounds like the kind of one that I will really enjoy. So I'm going to try and get to this one in May as well. And this is my very messy and chaotic TBR for you all. I have lost count of how many books are even on here. Sitting with me today, I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 sitting with me. And I can think of at least 2 that are only on my Kindle. So that's 14. 14 it's not impossible. We've read more books than that in a month before. I don't know if we've read that many books that are like chunky. But I'm feeling okay about it actually. She says, like heart in throat. It'll be fine. It will be fine. It will be fine. I hope that you enjoyed this chaotic video with multiple TBR games and lots of readathons. If you are taking part in any of these things, please let me know down in the comments. It'll be fun to chat and to see what your TBRs are looking like. Huge thanks to everybody who answered my tweet and recommended different readathons to me. I would also like to recommend checking out the 8 Perfect Murders readathon that is going on because I really wanted to take part in that because it's inspired by Peter Swanson's book Rules for Perfect Murders, but I can't get hold of half of the books because they're just not available on the library app and I couldn't afford to get hold of them, but that is something I want to read in the future. And also check out Eurovision-a-thon because I love Eurovision, and if I wasn't such a completionist, I would happily take part in it. But it's reading books from all the different countries that are taking part in Eurovision, and I just feel like Sean wouldn't be interested in half of them, and logistically it would have been an absolute nightmare to try and plan. But if you're interested in Eurovision or murdering people, check out those readathons because they will hit the spot for you. And yes, thank you so much for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this ridiculously plotted TBR video. And we will see you next month with another one. Please subscribe if you haven't already, because we do also post other videos on this channel. We actually post videos every Tuesday, Thursday and Saturday. So you get a lot of regular content from us here. And yeah, we will see you soon if we managed to survive this massive TBR. Thank you for watching. Bye! And now, do we just have to roll a 1?
I guess you roll off the board. I have to get to the middle, so we have to roll a 1. We have to roll anything more than a 1.
Anything more than 1? Oh wow, look, we did it! We got to 62. This went remarkably well. And let's go and pick our last duck. Sorry, Sean, you're going to have to do some juggling. So our third duck was a young... So our first roll got us to the second spot on the bird. Ducks. So this is going to be our TBR for Desert-a-thon. Desert-a-thon.
Desert-a-thon sounds...
Desert-a-thon.
sounds really tasty.